Hi everyone, this is meant to be a standalone recording, sharing with you some new insights or some new analogies that I have developed about how to understand the process of reality creation and how our energy centers, that's what I'm pointing to right over here, specifically this indigo colored brow chakra and also this violet colored crown chakra, how those two aspects of your energetic anatomy function together in divine harmony in order to create the world that we see around us. So this information is meant to be empowering, like you learn about how your own body functions within the context of the environment so that you can create what you wish to create. So first I would like to just describe the status quo of the present moment before we make this wonderful transcendent leap and change and become expanded. And I like to say it's like we are in a cookie factory. And let's say we've got the assembly line that brings the raw dough into the factory. And let's make these little perfect cookies that are all the same size and shape. They don't call it cookie cutter for no reason. And let's say that comes into here, goes through this oven that's in the center of the beautiful cookie factory, and then let's say they come out the other side here. Now, I don't know about you. I don't know if my listening audience is filled with people that are totally fulfilled, that have perfect health, perfect vitality, and have all of the money that they could possibly ever want. But probably most people in the world are not getting all of the cookies exactly that they want. I'm even going to go so far as to say that possibly the cookies that you eat every day aren't delicious, but they're burnt. I'm coloring them in now so that they look like they are blackened cookies instead of delicious chocolate chip cookies. These are all burnt cookies because I'm going to imagine that or presume that most people that are out there are not actually totally fulfilled, and that mostly people, either you in your own life have disease or lack of abundance, or some things in your life that you do not wish to be there, the death of a loved one, the death of a cherished animal, or that you live in a world that is filled with things that are undesirable. There are many different undesirable things. Children are born with cancer all the time. Even if your life is perfect, there are what I would call the burnt cookies of the society at large, of the world at large, the unfairness. Basically, what I'm describing over here, this factory with the cookies, this is your imagination. I'm trying to describe how this energetic apparatus, that's what our imagination is, actually creates reality. So let me just erase a little bit, and I'm going to tell you about the third, fourth, and fifth dimension. I have a whole teaching all about this, but in case you are tuning in as if for the very first time, like this is a dot, it's the 0th dimension. When we make a dot anywhere else and connect it with a series of dots, that becomes the first dimension. When we make a bunch of lines lined up next to one another on a flat plane, that becomes the second dimension. And when we line up a whole bunch of, I'm sorry, that drawing got a little bit away from me. Here we go, a whole bunch of flat planes on top of each other. Eventually we end up with a cube. That's supposed to be a cube there. That's just really, oh boy, that's not the best cube I've ever drawn. But there's a cube, and a cube is the third dimension. But what is the fourth dimension? So we've done the spatial dimensions, boring. We know all about that from geometry from school. What is the fourth dimension? It's not something that we can point to in space. So I'm giving you a hard question. If I say point to the fourth dimension, you'd have to point to like a clock and say, oh, it's, something o'clock, and that's what time it is. Time is actually a series of train cars. That is the box of the third dimension. The fourth dimension is a series of boxes that can be considered like train cars. Now I'm just doing simplified boxes. Imagine that these are all cubes, and just like trains, they're all connected. These little dots are the little connections, and what you have there is a timeline. So here, this is one moment. You're in this moment. Oh, but now guess what happened? Time just went by. Now you moved your dot from that moment to that moment. Oh, now that in time just went by. Now you've transferred your dot of consciousness to this moment. Now you've transferred your dot of consciousness to this moment, onward until your death, of course, until you hit the membrane of death. So all of this, I like to say in my little classes that I do, Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans, this is like a long, skinny French bread. Here's one end of the French bread, and here's the other long, skinny part, and here's the other long, skinny French bread, and each of these slices of bread are like moments of time. Well, the fifth dimension is like the bakery where this French bread loaf of time is created. But don't be too literal, because you want to say, oh, like it's a bakery. It's a place where you have flour and water and yeast and a big giant mixing machine, and it all comes together and it makes dough, and then the dough goes through an oven and the dough comes out as solidified matter on the other side. But I don't want you to be too literal with that, because really the fifth dimension is a series of uncollapsed waveforms, possibilities and probabilities. I just drew a sea of uncollapsed waveforms, and it is really the action of observership. Now I'm going to draw, like, coming out of this person's face, this eye over here, I'm going to draw like beams. Like, imagine these are laser beams, like hot beams of light coming out of your eyes that literally transform this stuff that's just a bunch of uncollapsed waveforms into this stuff down here, the train cars of reality that you can actually experience. So this little message that I'm recording here, this is all about, why don't we all just collapse these waveforms in exactly the train cars of reality that we want to and have perfect lives? And how can we fix and change the situation in order to do so? Oops, let me do a bit of erasure. So once again, now I'm exploring the present and reality, exploring and describing the present reality right now, and then we're going to get into solving and fixing. So in the present reality, we've got, hey, this is where the dough is going into the factory. Where does that dough come from? Well, it comes from the basic constituent elements that make up those uncollapsed waveforms before they're uncollapsed waveforms. And the short answer is that those basic elements come from you. However, for thousands and thousands of years, these elements have been taken from humanity and harvested in a way that is against your will and against your knowledge. Can't be consensual if you don't know that it's happening. So here's let's use green as a color. Here you are emitting all of these wonderful ingredients. Think of this as like flour that, you are literally creating with your thoughts and with your imagination and with your creativity and with your sexual energy. You are making all of these lovely green waveforms. Well, for a very, very long amount of time, imagine now I'm like a big, net, like a harvester, like a collector. Some external being has harvested that energy from you as an alive, organic, multicellular human, and has taken it into the back room of the factory, put it together into a big giant cauldron, mixed it up, made it into dough, and then put it on the assembly line. This is time. Each one of these little cookies here, I'm making cookies in purple color down here. Each one of these cookie dough balls down here, that's a moment of time, like one of those train cars of reality that we had down here in the fourth dimension. These cookie dough realities, these are, like I said, cookie cutters. They are uniform. They lack individuality. It's like there has been a standardizing procedure that has been applied to them so that they can then go through this factory and come out as these life experiences. This is basically answering the question, in the time vortex that I draw all the time, we've got this time vortex like this, and each one of these are these timelines of possibility, and you have, of course, the timeline that brings you all the way to infinity. Who wrote this musical score? Who made these possibilities? Who created this? Well, the short answer is you did. We all did. But the long answer is we did it by having the process hijacked. It's supposed to be a natural process. So what's supposed to happen is we are supposed to create, I need to erase a little bit here. We're supposed to create this lovely green, raw cookie dough emanation from our minds. And it's supposed to be in cookie shapes that are weird. Like, here's one that's shaped like a crescent. Here is one that's shaped like some kind of a tube, like a cannoli. Here's one that's shaped like a triangle or like a pyramid. And these are all, unique individual shapes or unique individual moments. If we put those cookie shapes into the oven, they would cook unevenly. If this is just a standardized apparatus, and here's the problem with reality as we experience it right now. All of the cookies just go into the oven, and the oven is whatever at 475, and it goes in there for 10 minutes, and we can't change that. If we could change that, then all of the cookies that came out here on the other side wouldn't be burnt. we wouldn't have burnt cookies. We wouldn't have children that are born with cancer. We wouldn't have the Fukushima power plant emitting radiation endlessly since 2011 into the Pacific Ocean, harming all of the fish, wildlife, and humans that consume that, and our entire planet as a result. These are burnt cookies of reality. We don't want those cookies. But oh man, this is the problem. We can't adjust this. If we could just turn down the temperature, if we could just change the amount of time that the cookies spend in the oven, or if we could reshape the shape of the dough. After all, and here's where I'm coming from on this, all of this green waveform stuff, it all comes from you and me. It all comes from us. Literally, it is like saying you grew a giant field of, wheat, but someone else chopped down all of your wheat, someone else harvested it, took it, turned it into flour, put it into this giant cauldron in the back room of a bakery, and turned it into these standardized cookies that are not the shapes that you would have turned them into. So now we're talking about your imagination making moments. And I'm erasing this area over here. Your imagination is this apparatus on your body. This, little place where I'm highlighting, that's right at the center of your brain where your spine connects to your skull. And this, what I'm highlighting right here, it's like a lens in front of your face. And you can see that it is connected to one of these hourglass-shaped chakra centers, and it doesn't just sit there. It whirls around in a circle like this, and it also spins around in a circle like this. And at the same time that portion of your anatomy is doing that, you have like a gyrostabilizing effect of this chakra over here that is oriented in this way and is spinning around like this, and is also spinning end over end like this. And those are supposed to be the magical aspects of your anatomy that create reality. You're supposed to be emanating this raw waveform that gets made into cookie shapes like this over here, and then the ovens of your own perception are supposed to cook these cookies into moments of reality, train car moments of reality that you can then experience. So the answer as to who is making this time vortex up here, who is making these potential for experiences, the answer is it's you. It's supposed to be you. But we recognize that we are not in a perfect system, and we recognize that the system, has been hijacked. So now when I talk about the hijackers, they are technological hijackers. Technological hijackers have hijacked the process of humanity doing this for all of what is known as recorded human history. So you haven't been free for a very long time. You're supposed to emanate these beautiful uncollapsed waveforms, make them into unique cookie shapes, and then an aspect of your own anatomy in terms of observership is supposed to observe those potential cookies of pure potential, and turn them into, these moments over here that can actually be consumed by your body that is a flesh and blood body. So I'm basically trying to say that this is supposed to be an internal process. This whole process here is supposed to be an internal process, but it's been externalized and hijacked by a form of technology. And that technology takes the raw ingredients of your energetic emissions. And these emissions, these have to do with your hopes and your dreams and your passions and your desires and your intimacies. These aren't just random thoughts that you think. These are like your prayers, and they have to do with your literal life force energy. But imagine they're like blades of grass that grow up, and then imagine a giant mower comes along and chops them off of you and then brings them over here to this area of the room of the bakery of reality. So that's energy that is being taken and siphoned off from humanity and removed from your own power structure. You cannot choose what shape the cookies are made into. They're not made into their shapes for your convenience. All of these cookies are made into this shape as the standardized cookie. This is, all cookies are exactly the same. All cookies are exactly the same size and shape, and then they go into this oven for the convenience of the machine, of this system, not for your own convenience. So now let's talk about also reality creation. These emanations, they don't just come from you as an individual, they come from you as a grouping of many humans together. So in order to make dough requires salt and yeast and flour and water. So some of that comes from you, and some of it comes from your partners. Some of it, it's not just sexual partners, it is collaborative partners in reality. There are other people out there that are thinking your thoughts along with you that are making these beautiful green emanations. It could be about something like an actual art project, like a mural or a symphony that you're working on together. It could be about society at large. It could be about politics. It could be about the structure of society, the structure of the economy. It's what you are creating. But humans have not been working collaboratively and creating their own reality for a very long time. You mentally make love with other humans, not even procreatively with your genitals, but you make love on a mental level with other humans and make this dough and make it into these unique cookie shapes that might be shaped like a crescent moon or like a star. That is the human society creative act that is supposed to be going on here. And humans haven't been able to even explore that act. So what it means is these shapes that are all uniform and the same, that's time. Those are moments of time. And think about how you and the rest of human society, everybody gets up at 7:45, everybody drinks their coffee, everybody looks at the news, everybody gets in their car, everybody drives their car to their jobs that they don't really like, everybody works at their jobs until 5 p.m., everybody drives home, everybody watches the same TV. These are all the cookie cutter moments of your life. And even though you try to break free and do something a little bit different, the only difference you can do is order a different flavor of coffee that morning, or maybe come home at 5:07 instead of 5:05. Like, you're locked in to these limited potentials, limited like train cars of reality. These are the train car moments of reality that you can get into, and you're limited. You're not able to get into these are magical realities. That I'm pointing to a crescent-shaped cookie over there where you experience something magical. And here's another, star-shaped cookie over here where you experience a magical reality, not just the boring routine of what we call human society. So human society is not being created by humans. It is being created by this larger apparatus, this machine that makes the cookies. So now let's talk about the hijacking of this apparatus in your own mind. It's supposed to be something that is internal, but for a very long time it's been externalized and put here into the factory. So now imagine that you have some person who works in the factory, working the ovens, and that it's their job to take these, trays of standardized cookies and put them into the oven, or, just stand there and watch while they go through and then come out as burnt stuff. And this guy is like, hey, I'm the baker. I'm making reality happen. And you're like, you're making reality with burnt cookies. This is not right. And he's like, I am not in control of the temperature or the time that these cookies are going through. And I'm not in control of the recipe back here in the back room. And so the only thing that this person can do is they can either start taking this dough and transforming it into different shapes, or they can stop working in this. And what I'm circling here, this artifice, this artificial factory of reality, it is like a virtual reality. It is like something that is run by artificial intelligence. I really hope you're getting me now. That I'm trying to say that this person here, this baker, this is an aspect of your own energetic anatomy. Erasing over here so you can see. It's this person right here. And that's also known as the Christ chakra, but I don't want to bring the Christian religion into this at all. But this is supposed to be your ability to see with pure insight, to see the time field, to co-create with the time field. And instead of being free to make the cookies of the shape that you want to, and create the train cars of reality that you wish to occupy, instead you are limited because that innate capacity has been hijacked and turned into this job over here. And this guy is not empowered. He is not in charge. If this little baker, he or she, could change the amount of time or the temperature of the ovens, then you wouldn't be making burnt cookies. So what is supposed to happen is you are supposed to have your own higher faculties over here, emanating your dough in partnership with other collaborative artists that are on the planet with you. You're thinking about the realities you want to make. You make these beautiful, unique cookie cutter shapes, and then this guy, this baker is supposed to use the ovens in front of his eyes, the observership, to cook like an expert. these shapes. Yeah, you can't just standardize this. You can't just put all of the shapes in the oven all at the same time and have them come out and expect it to be uniform. They're not uniform. These little parts over here need to be cooked less than this big part over here. So it takes artistry, divine co-creative partnership or artistry in order to create these perfect moments of time, or these perfectly shaped, perfectly cooked cookies that we can all eat. So I'm not sure if that was clear. I'm going to say it in a different way. This aspect of your anatomy has been hijacked and is this guy over here who works in the bakery. And it's actually it's not even a job, because this guy doesn't get paid properly and he's not free to choose what he does and everything like that. And he can't adjust the temperature and other gauges on the oven. This is your own energetic anatomy. Your capacity to manifest has been hijacked or taken over and misused and misapplied by this virtual reality, artificial intelligence system. We would call that the Matrix. This is why they made that movie, The Matrix, so that we now have a cultural shorthand so that we can talk about this. Your own capacity to imagine and create the reality that you want has been hijacked and is utilized by this uncaring, unloving machine in order to make blackened, burnt cookies that are all very standardized and all very much the same, that everybody has to eat because it's the only cookies that are there that are available. So I propose that we reclaim the actions of this baker. Get that person out of the bakery, set them free, reclaim them, and also no longer allow the emanations of your thoughts and passions and creative energies to be taken and hijacked. These are all big things. And how do you accomplish these things? The answer is through willpower. Like, how do you get up and run a marathon? You do it through willpower. And then you also have to do the actual steps, like you train your legs, you put on sneakers, you actually go out and run and do that. But what you need to do is to understand that a lot of this has been hijacked through like a sense of religion, that you must pray to an externalized baker. I pray to the baker, please bake me the cookies that I want in my life. And then that baker will be like, well, I don't think I can do that because I'm working with this totally corrupt machine system that is actually made to make burnt cookies. None of this was calibrated to make cookies that are delicious for humans. All of this was calibrated to be a standardized system that is easy to work with for the machine and to uphold the machine. So a big part of it is understanding, like, wait a minute, you're not supposed to just emanate these lovely pieces of energy to some paternalistic religious figure that says, oh, you're just a child, you have no idea what to do with your actual creative energy. Give me your imagination. Allow me to use the juice of your imagination to imagine the cookies over here that I want. So part of it is willpower, where you understand, wait a minute, I should be imagining the cookies of my own life. And then part of it is no longer asking and requesting, like, will you please bake these cookies for me, but now requiring. And that action, I'm trying to find a different color. Here we go, blue. Imagine that this being that was externalized, now all of a sudden you're taking them back inside of you. Because for many, many thousands of years, this guy over here is baking in the bakery of artificial intelligence and virtual reality and not serving humanity, but it's actually a part of your own anatomy. The real revelation, or the real takeaway, is understanding that this is your own indigo chakra. It's your own blue chakra. It's your own higher faculty, and that you are meant to use that higher faculty to, like an artist, like a virtuoso, cook the cookie shapes of your imagination into being. And this is all about we're changing reality. We're changing our concept of what a deity is, and who should be creating reality, and what is fate and what is destiny. So I hope that this has been clear. It's one of the first times I've tried to explain it with diagrams. Thank you so much for tuning in and being with me on the journey.